I was assaulted by 4 cops last night, and I'm still here. And I feel very victorious.
Good job.
I'm proud of myself. The raid was about 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm not sure of the time, down at OccupySF. It was the first time I relaxed. It was the first night I was warm. I got Diamond Dave's tent, which meant it was an honored spot and it was theft-proof, in a place where there was no greed. I'm pretty compromised health-wise. This body is not willing to be there at all. However, I stayed calm and focused. I peeked out at the tent or through the window I never used before. I never had to before. And there was shoulder to shoulder in semi-riot gear. All these fascist cops, a lot of them way too new on the job. That makes it a little dangerous. What I noticed is that there were no gas masks. So I knew that in the next 5 minutes that I was going to be safe. They gave us a 5-minute warning to evacuate. I got all my personal things together. I got Dave's gear together, I got my gear together, and then I got brave and stood up outside and could see that they didn't have a whole bunch of zip ties in their back pocket. And they had one attached to their uniform of what was on the other end, I'm not sure, but it couldn't be pepper spray, I'm assuming. I'm ignorant, what do I know? But all I knew is that I was not going to die that night, early this morning, because I have respiratory disease from Moscone Center. And if those tear gas cans would have gone off, I would have been dead. I don't doubt it at all. So I complied because I'm battered. I have the AccuCough from, what is it, AccuCough from Occupy right now. We're all sick. We're all sick down there and dehydrated and malnourished and very cold. I complied. I felt like I wimped out, sold out, but then I was thinking, I'm no good dead to these people. Get my ass up on Market Street like they asked. I got my gear, my personal things. I did not get the gear, and I'm thinking, oh, Dave, he's honored me. I got to at least bring his tent. They wouldn't let me back in. They let the pretty young woman back in. They let one in twice. What she missed and she didn't know was there was a wedding ring waiting for her for Christmas. The younger people that were braver and prepared were the second shift and blocking the street. I was on the sidewalk with my back to the wall because I wasn't sure the young men were going to cover me and I didn't want them to. So they barked the orders for the young people to clear the streets and go on the sidewalk, of which I was played. I lost that psychological little tactic. Charlie Company comes around the corner in riot gear and helmets, no shields, but nasty batons, where they beat the men and bruised them. And they went after me first, because I was the second oldest, and because I was the most vulnerable, and they are chicken shit. 3 cops came at me at once, laid their hands on me at the same time, and the asshole in the middle was still had his baby fat. He couldn't have been more than 22 or whatever the legal minimum is. Irish descent, dazed, confused, looked like a deer caught in the headlights. So I decided to play psychological warfare back, and I leaned in about 4 inches from his face and dropped my voice an octave and said, "I'm older than your mother." And it's true. At which point it pissed off the supervisor. He came from behind me, I didn't see him coming. He manhandled me pretty good, but I was fortunate they didn't grab me around the neck because I have an unfused spine injury. I'm lucky I'm here. He looked like a rabid pit bull, foaming at the mouth and angry. The young one was already dangerous because he was afraid. He's the kind of partner that would get his partner killed. I didn't trust him, and I was not afraid of the supervisor. What they did was, when I had my bags in my hands, they took it out of my hands. What were in the bags were my first 2 Social Security checks. It took 15 fucking years to get, and it's the wrong benefits, but I ain't telling them. And my first letters back from vocational rehab. Another 15 years too late. I have no idea what it says. I've lost almost everything personal. I've lost some of your poetry. I've lost some of my poetry. And I still was not afraid. And I kept saying, that's my mail, that's my mail. I wasn't violent. I wasn't threatening. But I sure as hell was not afraid. And I had no respect for these people. One of the poets showed up about 6:30 in the morning, many hours later. She doesn't frequent the cafes too much, she's shy. But she shows up down there all the time, and she's with the Revolutionary Poets Brigade. And she bought me a coffee at Starbucks. She insisted I come into Starbucks. I said, well, I need to pee, but I boycott Starbucks. I told her, I reminded her twice I boycotted Starbucks. She's going, shh, shh, just be quiet and sit down. Of course I did. And that kept me inside and warm with access to a toilet. I'm diabetic too. So these cops have my meds. They got my new respiratory stuff I don't want to take anyway. And for 3 weeks I've had stroke symptoms because I've been without my meds for 4 months. And when I went to the clinic today, my blood pressure was lower and my oxygen levels were the best it's been in probably 10 years. Yes, I'm proud of this old corpse on 2 feet firmly. I'm victorious. Last week, I lost 2 or 3 sizes in 2 days. It is so fiercely cold out there. The shivering was so deep, it's beyond anything like when you're 8 and go into the swimming pool in the summertime. It's ugly. We were joined recently by a lot of stoners who are not political, and there's a lot of mentally ill because they can't survive the drop-in centers and the shelters. It's a very complicated situation down there. Where do you draw the line? Do the non-political get tossed out? It was suggested we stop the food. Well, if I don't have an income, how can I eat as a diabetic? So there's a lot more going on than Ed Lee and Muhammad Nuru. This administration is going to be worse, and they're bigger fascists than when George Christopher was here, shoving the freeways through this town and doing obscene social engineering. Please tell everyone, when we reopen a camp, either in the same spot or somewhere, to send water. These kids look 20 years older than what they are. They're malnourished. They need your support. I'm going back there tonight. It's either at 101 Market or at City Hall. I have nothing left to lose. That makes me fierce. And they're afraid of me. I want to thank you for listening. The poets call me Justice Sweet. Thank you.